The following program is intended for mature audiences.
A democratic republic of sports. The Sportsocracy with ESPN Asheville hosts Tank Spencer and Jeremy Greene.
Welcome into the Wicked Weed Studios, wickedweedbrewing.com. Drink different. I'm Jeremy Greene of ESPN Radio. I'm joined by Tommy Bradley.
Yes, sir.
And this is the NFC East 2021 win projections video from the Sportsocracy. Tommy, this was the worst division in the history of time last year. 7 wins won it. I don't think that's going to happen again.
Negative.
I look at this and there are 2 teams that can win this division, in my opinion. And there are 2 teams that one is god-awful and the other one is not great. I could see either the Cowboys or the Washington football team winning this division. If you had to guess, which team do you like better to win this division?
Personally, I've got the Washington football team taking it, and it's really not that close on my projections. Their defense was already great last year. They didn't bring in, a top-flight quarterback, but Ryan Fitzpatrick, all he does is get the job done. He's been on teams where he's had to do more than he's going to have to do this year. He's got weapons. I love what they did with Curtis Samuel. They've got a great receiving core, a bunch of young guys, a bunch of really fast players. That it's going to be a track meet on offense. Ryan Fitzpatrick's going to get the ball deep down the field, and they've got the defense to stay in any game. I had them going 12-5, and honestly, that might even be a little low. Their defense is going to have them in every game. They're going to be able to affect every quarterback. I just don't really even see it being that close. I've got the Cowboys underneath them by 4 games so far. So I really have the Washington football team running away with this division.
I don't have them running away with it, but I do have them winning it, which means the best place we could possibly start is with the Washington football team. Welcome into the Wicked Weed Studios. This is the 2021 Washington football team win-loss projection video from the Sportsocracy. I'm Jeremy Greene of ESPN Radio. This is Tommy Bradley. Tommy, is there any team in the NFL that you look more differently at right now than you did 2 years ago than the Washington football team?
Not even close, no.
But with the addition of Chase Young and just how good the team is, I look at this team and I don't see any way that they don't win the division. And then they were given this. I look at the schedule and go, there are 10 damn near automatic wins on this schedule. It's not the easiest one in the league, but at the same time, I was looking at it and go, there's nothing that jumps out to me. I mean, yes, you start with 2 of your first 3 are the Chargers and the Bills, but then you sprinkle in the Giants, the Falcons, and the Saints.
Yeah.
Then you get the Chiefs and the Packers. That's not great. And you're rewarded with the Broncos, Panthers, Seahawks, and Raiders. There's just no part of this schedule where I go, you have 3 really tough games in a row, anything like that. What was your biggest takeaway from the schedule release for the Washington football team?
It's really how they finished the season. I mean, you've got the Cowboys in Week 14, the Eagles in Week 15, Cowboys again in 16, Eagles again in 17, and then Week 18 is going to be the New York Giants. All 5 of those games, I can see them winning. So as long as they stay competitive through those couple of stretches where, like you said, in the first 3 games, and I think they will. And it's amazing what a difference one player can make. In football, it's a team game. One player, can't make or break your team. But what Chase Young brought to that team in pass rushing off that side opens everything up for the D tackles that they've had there for a long time that have been solid players. For the other edge rushers they have, they got Jamin Davis, in the first round. He's going to fly around in the middle. I just love their defense. They were so good last year. They only got better, and that's going to keep them in every game. And if they come out with a solid record going into the last part of their season, I can see them going into the playoffs with a ton of momentum.
As could I. I look at this team and say in my opinion, the only team that could possibly steal the division from them is the Cowboys. Yeah. And I look at Washington getting 5 divisional games to end the regular season, and I actually think that's a benefit. You don't have to play the teams in your division but one time until the last month plus of the season. If we look at your breakdown of how the season goes, you have the Washington football team at 12-5, the Cowboys at 8-9, the Giants at 6-11, and the Eagles at 2-15. So you have the Washington football team winning this division, going into the divisional playoffs, and losing to the Green Bay Packers.
I do.
I don't hate that. I'm in a very similar boat, but I'm even a little more drastic than you are. I have Washington 11-6, tied with the Cowboys winning the tiebreaker to win the division. The Giants at 7-10 and the Eagles at 4-13. I have Washington going to the NFC Championship game.
And I don't disagree with that at all. And I think they have the talent to be able to do that 100%. The thing that it came down to for me is if the matchup that I had does play out with the Packers playing the Washington football team, I think the one player in this league that can neutralize their defense is Aaron Rodgers. The way that he can look at a defense before the snap, decide where he's going to go with the ball, decide which matchups are going to be the best, most advantageous for him, and get the ball out quickly. I think that can frustrate Chase Young. He's a all-time great as a young pass rusher so far, but with young pass rushers, they can get frustrated. If you go a couple of quarters and he can't touch Aaron Rodgers, he's going to get frustrated. And I think that's the one kryptonite they could meet in the playoffs, but it would not surprise me at all if they end up going as far as you have them going.
The thing that's advantageous for them is that they get another crack at Tom Brady. I would say this is the Washington football team to me is the team that Tampa Bay wants to see the least in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Because the one way you can frustrate Tom Brady is to get in his face, and Washington's going to do that. I have them ultimately losing to the LA Rams, but I do think this is one of the best teams in the NFC. And this is a team that if we can get good Ryan Fitzpatrick,
right,
of which as a Jets fan I got to see many years of Fitzpatrick, some good, some bad, and some in between.
Right.
The hope is that with these weapons, with this defense, he doesn't try to do too much. He gives them the ability to challenge you down the field. And I think Washington, to me, is the best team in the NFC East. This has been the Washington football team's 2021 win-loss projection video from the Sportsocracy. As always, we're brought to you by Wicked Weed Brewing. Be sure to check them out online at wickedweedbrewing.com. Drink different. As I said, there are two teams in the NFC East that I really like. So, if you're going to start with the one I like the most, it makes a lot of sense to follow that up with the team I like the second most, the Dallas Cowboys. Welcome into the Wicked Weed Studios, wickedweedbrewing.com. Drink different. This is the Sportsocracy's 2021 win-loss projection video for the Dallas Cowboys. Tommy, this is a team that was, the offense was good before Dak Prescott got hurt. You had a little taste of fat Ezekiel Elliott, but the biggest problem was the defense. Do you think that Dan Quinn alone can fix this defense enough to make this team a contender?
Can he help the defense? Yes. Do they need a ton of help on defense to be able to be a contender? No, because their offense is so good. I do like what I'm seeing this offseason out of Ezekiel Elliott. Instead of being at Mardi Gras, instead of having run-ins with the law, I've seen a lot of him putting in work and working on his footwork. Hopefully we won't see fat Ezekiel Elliott this year, and we'll see the Zeke that I think last year what happened was when Dak went down, he knew that the Cowboys weren't Super Bowl contenders. And he was out to get his a little bit. He knew that the offense was solely relying on him. You're not going to trust the Red Rocket to get you to the Super Bowl, as much as we all love Andy Dalton. But Zeke had a huge burden on his shoulders, and I don't feel like he wanted to deal with that without the possibility of going to the Super Bowl. This year, I think he's going to have Dak back. They're going to be rejuvenated. They've got so many pieces, so many weapons on offense. They added Micah Parsons, who's a huge talent. I said in Thursday's Sportsocracy Morning Show episode that I'm not sure if that's what's going to take the Cowboys defense to the next level. It's great having a generational linebacker, but without a solid pass rush and good corners to be able to, let the pass rush get home. I don't know how much better they're going to be, but I do like Dan Quinn as a defensive coordinator. Love what he did in Seattle, and I think it can at least help them get a couple more wins than they had last year.
Dan Quinn gets a little bit of a bad rap because of things that happened as a head coach. I don't think anybody can fault him as a coordinator, and I think he's enough to make this team really good. Not really good, but above average defensively. And then this happened. I look at this schedule, and yeah, the fact you open the season with the defending Super Bowl champions, that part kind of sucks.
Not ideal.
And the fact you have to go to LA the week after that, not ideal. But then their next 6 games actually, are Eagles, Panthers, Giants, at the Patriots, at the Vikings, Broncos, Falcons. I could see every one of those being wins. I could see a path where they're 6-2 going into a date with the Chiefs. Then you have the Raiders and the Saints, 2 games that I think they should win before you have to start in with the Washington football team, 2 out of 3, the Cardinals, and then you end with the Eagles with a date with the Giants in between the 2 Washington football team games. I just look at the Cowboys and say, I think they have a better than average shot of ending up as a wild card team.
No doubt. And I think we're really not going to find out about this division until the last 5 weeks of the season. They all play each other. They're going to have, records going into that stretch that are a little inflated or they're a little under where they're going to be. And then that stretch is really going to prove who's the class of this division. The Cowboys, I love their offense and I love the talent that they have. And if you would have just told me to, say what I think the Cowboys' record is going to be, it would be less than what I have them at. I've got them at 8-9 because the way that we did these and the way Jeremy got us to do these projections was go week by week and pick each game. So when I got to the end of it and saw the Cowboys at 8-9, I wasn't sure, how exactly that was going to play out and how I got there because I feel a little bit better about the Cowboys than 8-9. But, the numbers don't lie. And when you go week by week and take every game as it comes and don't pay attention to the record till the end, that's what I came away with. And I think they just have a tough schedule, and the 6 wins you see them rolling off, I could see them losing a couple of. I could see the game with the Panthers, #NoHomer, being a little bit closer than people think. So it's really going to come down to that last stretch, but they definitely have the talent to keep up with the football team in this division.
That is your projection for how the NFL season goes, and this one is mine. I have the Cowboys at 11-6, tied with the Washington football team, making the playoffs and ultimately losing to them in the wild card round of the playoffs because that game would be in Washington. I think Dallas is one of the 7 best teams in the NFC. I look at the 3 teams from the NFC West. I think the Bucs are the only team in the NFC South that can make the playoffs. I think the Packers are the only team in the NFC North that can make the playoffs. So to me, it's a question of which do I see better? The Cowboys as the second clearly best team in the NFC East, or the Seahawks as the worst team in the NFC West. And I don't see any way that the Cowboys, with that schedule, don't win more games. I have them making it to the wild card round of the playoffs. I could easily see where things break slightly different. They actually win the division, and as opposed to having to go on the road for the wild card round of the playoffs, they get it in Jarrah World and reel off a win, and from there we see. Dak Prescott now the highest paid quarterback in the NFL and one of the highest paid athletes of the last 12 months of the year, or the last 12 months in sports. A lot of pressure on the Dallas Cowboys, but I like this team better than most, and I think it's going to be a successful year in Jerry World. Live from the Wicked Weed Studios, this has been the 2021 win-loss projection for the Dallas Cowboys. For Tommy Bradley, I'm ESPN Radio's Jeremy Greene. Be sure to click the like and subscribe button so you'll see every time we go live, including 9 a.m. every weekday morning right here in the Wicked Weed Studios for the Sportsocracy Morning Show. All topics are on the table, and you are the producer of the show. Polls and everything to determine the content. Just be sure to click like and subscribe so you'll know every time we go live. As always, we're brought to you by Wicked Weed Brewing, wickedweedbrewing.com. Drink different. Well, those were the fun ones. Those are the teams that are good. And then we have the New York Giants and Philadelphia Eagles. The New York Giants, who famously on this show, Brian Haynes said, wide receiver is the last of the needs that they needed.
Brian's going to need earmuffs for this part.
Yeah, this is not going to be pretty, so like a Band-Aid, just rip it right off. Welcome into the Wicked Weed Studios. This is the New York Giants 2021 win-loss projection video from the Sportsocracy. As always, we're brought to you by Wicked Weed Brewing, wickedweedbrewing.com. Drink different. I'm Jeremy Greene of ESPN Radio, joined by Tommy Bradley to tell you what we think about Chris Farley Jr., Brian Haynes, and his New York Giants. I look at this team a little differently than a lot of people do. I think the team around Daniel Jones is really good. I just don't like Daniel Jones at all. What say you, Mr. Bradley?
I think you're 100% correct. A lot of it's going to depend on Gumby himself, Mr. Daniel Jones, Mr. Duke football. I think, it's hard to go against Saquon Barkley, the rookie year that he had. If he stays healthy, I think they're going to have a decent run game. But with that offensive line, we know that Brian was not happy about not taking a tackle in the first round. I do like Kadarius Toney. I don't know if I like him at 20th overall in the draft. Tough break on not being able to get his cleat size right for the first day of practice.
Yeah, get this man some shoes that fit.
That's not a good sign. Not a good start either.
Not a good start.
But they do have Kelvin Benjamin coming in to audition as tight end, so that could really turn that team around. We know
Kelvin Benjamin.
Fat Kelvin Benjamin. He's notoriously a great team guy. Shout out to Cam Newton. But honestly, I had him at 6-11 this year, and that was largely for Brian's blood pressure. I didn't want to put them below 5 wins. I do think they've got some talent on that team, and there's just always been so much parity in the East. With as many wins as I have Washington having, I had to, take some wins somewhere, and I don't have the Eagles with a great record, but I also don't have the Giants with a great record. At 6-11, that's honestly probably being a little generous.
For those of you that don't remember Kelvin Benjamin, Buffalo Bill has a message for you.
Oh, wait. Was she a great big fat person?
He was a great big fat person. And we covered him here for the Carolina Panthers, and I'll go ahead and tell you, that's a story that just made me laugh. However, when the schedule came out, it was very obvious to me that the most important part of the schedule to me is the first 4 weeks. You better be 3-1. You're not going to go to Washington and beat Washington. But I think you can beat the Broncos. I think you can beat the Falcons, both those games in New York. I think you can go to New Orleans and beat the Saints. The problem is then the schedule goes to hell in a hearse. At the Cowboys, Rams, Panthers, at the Chiefs, Raiders, at the Buccaneers. And then you get a little layoff with the Dolphins, at the Chargers, at the Dolphins, at the Chargers, Cowboys again. And then you finish off with 2 winnable games in the Washington football team, who might be resting players at the end of the season. At the Eagles, at the Bears, Washington football team. I just don't think you were given any breaks with the schedule. I actually like the talent on this team. I just don't think Daniel Jones is the right point guy. Right. And so, for me, I think he got screwed by the schedule. I think this is the make or break year for Daniel Jones. And this is probably the last year that you have to watch him, because I would say they move on after this year, seeing that he is not the answer for the future. And to me, even a Ryan Fitzpatrick level answer would have this team in that 8-9, 9-8, 7-10, 10-7 range. But first of all, I'll put yours up there. You've got the Giants at 6-11, finishing third in the NFC East, 2 games behind the Dallas Cowboys. I conversely have them 7-10. I do think they can get to. I've got them on the high side or on the low side of that mediocrity 7, 8, 9, 10 win tier. But I think they do have a lot of pieces going forward. I think this will be a growing year where you can look at the team and say, well, at least we're getting better. But in my opinion, there is absolutely no way that they contend for the playoffs. I don't think they even threaten for the playoffs. I hate to say that to Giants fans.
How long do you have for Dave Gettleman's job?
I would have said this past offseason, so at this point he's living on borrowed time.
I feel like him and Daniel Jones are attached. I feel like
I do too. And I said it when he drafted him. You're now stuck with this guy. You took him way ahead of where any of us in the draft community would have had him, and now you're tied to him. So if this does not go well, and trust me, I've been wrong before. I see the natural talent in Daniel Jones. The problem is that I don't think you've fixed the line to the appropriate point. Yep. I would have much preferred that Kadarius Toney pick be somebody like Tevin Jenkins that would have improved that line. Open up some holes for Saquon Barkley. You didn't really do that. However, you did have one of my favorite picks of the draft with Azeez Ojulari in the second round. So you do have young pieces that you can be excited about.
The next GM's going to really love this.
Oh, yeah, because you're going to have 2 first-round picks next year, and it's going to be tremendous. And one of them is going to be from the Bears, and they suck. See, not all the things I said about the Giants were bad. This has been the Giants 2021 NFL win-loss projection video from the Sportsocracy. As always, we're brought to you by Wicked Weed Brewing. Visit our friends at Wicked Weed Brewing at wickedweedbrewing.com. Drink different. If you thought that was bad, it's about to get a hell of a lot worse. Because there are not many teams in the NFL that I hate more than the Philadelphia Eagles.
Hashtag birds aren't real.
Hashtag birds aren't real. And it's not even because I dislike the Eagles. It's because I absolutely told you from the second you drafted him, Jalen Hurts is not a starting quarterback. And you're determined to find this out the hard way. So we might as well, just like we did with the Giants, rip the Band-Aid right off. This is the Philadelphia Eagles. Welcome into the Wicked Weed Studios, wickedweedbrewing.com. Drink different. I'm Jeremy Greene of ESPN Radio. This is Tommy Bradley joining me to bring to you the Philadelphia Eagles 2021 NFL win-loss projection video from the Sportsocracy. Tommy, this is a team that I have routinely criticized for their handling of Carson Wentz, who was a far superior, in my opinion, quarterback to Jalen Hurts. How do you view the Philadelphia Eagles with Jalen at quarterback going into the 2021 season?
I think this is the season where they purposely throw Jalen Hurts out there with not enough protection or weapons and say good luck and we'll appreciate our next coach and GM.
I've said that for quite some time. I honestly have never seen a young quarterback given this little to work with. That you're going to be dealing with Greg Ward again as your number 2 wide receiver.
Who is that?
Behind Devontae Smith, who's a rookie.
Yeah.
And a wispy little rookie at that. I just look at this team, and you were in cap hell. You got out from underneath Carson Wentz. You're going to have 3 wins going into next year, so the team's going to be rebuilt. The question I have is, are you going to retain Howie Roseman? My answer would be no. Anytime one of your lead scouts looks at him and basically tells him to go get fucked, that's a bad sign that your GM's lost control. My hope would be that this season goes so poorly that they figure out that the Jalen Hurts experiment is not going to work, which some wise NFL draft miser tried to tell you on draft night as you took him. And then this happened. Woof. There is a period of about 5 games in 2 separate stretches where I don't see how you're going to win a game. I really don't. I mean, honest to God, be as eagle-colored glasses as you can be. Tell me on the top line of that schedule, from week 1 to week 6, you go Falcons to Buccaneers. Who exactly are they supposed to beat in that?
I don't see it.
I don't either.
Struggled to come up with some wins for the Eagles this year.
And they're not just going to get beat in most of those, they're going to get shellacked.
Yeah.
And I think they'll get beat by the Raiders. Then you get into a week 8 game with the Detroit Lions where you're 0-7. I have you getting your first win right there.
Right, I think I did too.
There's just not a lot of winnable games on the schedule.
At all.
And you've got Jalen Hurts. I mean, unless you run the veer with Miles Sanders and Kenneth Gainwell, there's just not a lot to like here. I think this is a blip year for the Eagles. I know, I can't remember if you're higher on them or if I am. This is Tommy's breakdown of how he has the 2021 NFL season going. You have the Eagles at 2-15. 4 games behind the 3rd place New York Giants. And you would have them as the second worst team in the NFC East and with the 3rd pick in the draft. So there's that.
Yeah, I think this might be the year where Eagles fans need to just, hold on to your Super Bowl, maybe replay that on Sundays instead of watching the team. It's going to be a rough go this year. Looking at the schedule, doing the breakdown that we did, I really struggled. I did not want to give, the Eagles a 0-17, a 1-16 record. But as I was going through the games, coming up with 2 wins was even hard. I mean, every week their schedule is tough, and there's a couple of games I could see them squeaking away with, but honestly, those 2 games against the Lions, I think it's going to be closer than people think. I think it's going to be really tough for the Eagles to come away with some, with some wins this year. And do they have their first in this upcoming draft?
Yes.
So you have
they
that
have
to look
theirs.
forward
They'll
to.
have the Colts if Carson Wentz starts more than 70% of games, and they have it's either the Dolphins or the 49ers.
I think their best case scenario is, as much as, Eagles fans don't want to hear it, is having that tough season this year, getting rid of Howie, Roseman, moving on, going to a new regime, starting fresh with those first-round picks, and building on the talent that they got in this year's draft, like Devontae Smith.
I am right there with you. I have the Philadelphia Eagles at 4-13. I'm not quite as down on them. In my projection, they would wind up with the 6th pick in the draft, but they would have the ammo to go get Keaton Slovis, Sam Howell, whoever they feel is legitimately the quarterback of the future here. I'll be honest with you, I feel like 4-13, I was even being a little a little eagle-colored glasses.
Yeah.
I just don't, this team's not very good. And now, you kick the can down the road with the cap, and you had to deal with all the Wentz money and all the dead money that you're dealing with.
Yeah.
This is a blip year. You're going to have money next year. You're going to have draft picks. Things are going to get better. Just relax.
A
year from now, you're going to tell me I was right about Jalen Hurts, and it'll all be fine. I'll forgive you. I'll forgive you for all the ugly things you said about me online, and the ESPN radio calls and all the other things that I've dealt with, and that's fine. You'll know soon enough.
Hashtag birds aren't real.
That's right. Hashtag birds aren't real. For Tommy Bradley, I'm Jeremy Greene of ESPN Radio. This has been the Philadelphia Eagles 2021 win-loss projection video from the Sportsocracy. Make sure to click like and subscribe so you'll know every time we go live, including weekdays at 9 a.m. for the Sportsocracy Morning Show. Driven by you, the producers of the show, and brought to you every day, as always, by Wicked Weed Brewing. WickedWeedBrewing.com. Drink different. Well, that was fun and cathartic, even if it wasn't for Eagles and Giants fans.
Yeah, earmuffs, Eagles and Giants fans on that one.
Yeah, it's okay. I'll see you in the YouTube comments. Just make sure you spell them right. And if you're going to say I sound incredibly dumb, make sure you say it the way I just said it instead of you sounds incredible dumb. Just a thought. Thank you for joining us in the Wicked Weed Studios. As always, I'm Jeremy Greene of ESPN Radio. This is Tommy Bradley. WickedWeedBrewing.com. Drink different.